Hello everyone, tonight we are standing at the entrance of a hallway that wasn't quite this short yesterday, or maybe the day before. It's hard to say time stretches differently when the corridor breathes behind your back. You are here now, and the end of the hallway, the one with the door you always think is slightly open, feels closer than it should be. But that's only when you're alone. You probably won't survive. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you really like what I do here. Let me know where you're listening from and what time it is there. I promise that helps me know which walls to knock on first. Now, turn off the lights, maybe turn on the fan for some soothing noise, and let's get started tonight. The hallway was carved long ago, not in stone or wood, but in habit. You take the same number of steps from bedroom to stairwell each morning, or you think you do. The first time you counted it was 17. Just enough to hum once between each step. Then one morning it was 15. But you were tired, maybe you skipped 2. Still, last week it was 13, and this morning 11. Your feet remember the old spacing. You feel it in the hesitations of the stumbles. The floorboards beneath your toes don't always appear where they should. And sometimes a wall pushes in, just slightly, like a lung exhaling. You never told anyone about it, not directly. You made a joke once that your house was trying to save space. Your cousin laughed and asked if you'd been watching those cursed architecture reels again. You didn't tell her the floor plan you showed her last year no longer matches the turns of your hallway. Or that the hallway isn't on any blueprint at all. Some houses have crawl spaces, some have ghost passages. Yours apparently has a memory problem. One archaeologist once proposed that ancient cave systems change shape depending on who entered them, citing the Paleolithic site of Bruniquel Cave in France, where Neanderthals arranged broken stalagmites into rings in the dark nearly 176,000 years ago. The formation is still there, but the paths leading to it, well, not everyone agrees on their length. Some researchers still argue whether that's just a mapping error or a failure of imagination. The hallway hums when you're alone, just low enough that you can't tell if it's in the air or in your teeth. The hum stops the moment someone else steps near your uncle, your cat, even a delivery person at the door. And it's not a warning hum. It's more like disappointment. You've tried to record it. Of course you have. The microphone picks up nothing but your own breath and the click of the stop button. The lights overhead flicker only when you pass under them. Not before, not after. You tried standing still, hoping to catch the pattern, nothing. But walk again just 1 foot in front of the other, and the bulb nearest you dims slightly, then regains its glow behind you, like it wants you to know it's watching, or that it's being watched. You once read that in ancient Mesopotamian tombs, small votive figurines were carved with exaggerated eyes, not because they saw anything, but because it made spirits think they were being seen. It was a form of protective mimicry. Maybe the hallway learned that. Maybe it blinks first. You remember something strange now. As a child, you hated the hallway, though you never had a reason. You used to sprint down it at night, certain you'd feel fingers brush your back if you walked. That's normal for kids, right? You grew out of that fear, but the hallway didn't. Now it feels like it's trying to coax you back into it, like it's tired of pretending to be part of the house. One night last winter, when the power flickered out and the heat failed, you stood in the hallway longer than usual. You swear the air there was warmer, almost humid. You pressed your palm against the wallpaper and found it moist. Not damp from a leak, not chilled from condensation. Warm, like breath had been exhaled through the wall, like the hallway missed someone. You stepped back, counted your steps again. 10. That night you dreamed of corridors made of vertebrae. Long spine hallways that flexed when you ran. You woke up clutching your ankle, which ached, as if something had curled around it and tugged. 3 nights ago you left your bedroom door open. Just a little. And when you woke, it had been pushed wider. Not alarming by itself, air currents, old hinges. But the odd part was that the door frame looked closer. You blinked, stared, stood, measured. From your pillow to the door frame, a shorter walk than usual. You didn't say anything, you just moved the dresser half an inch forward. A control mark. Science. Yesterday, the dresser was flush against the frame. You laugh nervously. That's one of your 3 allotted chuckles for the day. Use them wisely. There's a theory, folkloric of course, that some spaces in the world are not built but grown. Forest clearings that never shift their shape no matter how many trees fall. Cellars that stay bone dry during floods. Hallways that forget their dimensions when nobody is watching. These places aren't haunted. They're simply alive in a way we're not used to. Like an old pet that doesn't understand your schedule anymore. Or a mirror that holds its breath while you pass by. This hallway, it's not shortening, that's the wrong word. It's forgetting how long it used to be. And it seems to forget a little faster every time you're alone. Tonight, you count your steps again. The lights flicker behind you one by one. The hum is there, just behind your left ear. You take another step. 9. You start leaving breadcrumbs, not literal ones though, that might come later. No, for now it's subtle things. A pencil leaned upright at the edge of the hallway wall. A rubber band looped over the doorknob. A chalk mark pale blue on the floor near the heating vent. Little nudges to reality. Anchors. So you'll know later what's moved, or who's moved it. The rubber band disappears by morning. The pencil has fallen. The chalk mark is smeared as if a small heel scuffed it, but you've walked barefoot all week. You're still trying to be rational. That's adorable, really. A friend once told you about liminal spaces, locations that feel eerie because they mimic transition, but offer no destination. Empty school halls, subway stations at night, hotel corridors. But your hallway isn't liminal, not exactly. It isn't a space between things. It's becoming something. You suspect it doesn't want to take you anywhere. It wants to keep you. One researcher studying Bronze Age chamber tombs once noted how passageways were intentionally designed to induce claustrophobia, narrowing the deeper you went. Not for aesthetics, for ritual. Some believe that pressure, the feeling of stone tightening, helped coax the soul from the body. A birth in reverse. Of course, not everyone agrees. Some scholars argue that the narrowing was simply practical, easier to build short corridors and rocky hillsides. A fair point. But then you remember how your hallway used to be wide enough for 2. Now you have to turn sideways when carrying the laundry basket. You ask your neighbor casually how long she thinks your hallway is. She blinks. You mean, just a hallway, right? Then laughs. Same as everyone's, I guess. She hasn't been inside. You don't invite people in much, and lately you suspect that's on purpose. You film yourself walking the length. 17 seconds. Then the footage corrupts, only the audio survives. A long, slow humming tone like an animal breathing in sleep. Or maybe an ancient wind across bone pillars. You laugh again. That's 2 laughs now. Tread carefully. You replay the audio, slow it down. There's something under the hum. You can't tell if it's a voice or not. It might be saying stay. Or it might be a pipe settling. Or it might be a voice saying pipe settling. That night you don't sleep. You dream of passageways full of bone lamps. The walls are breathing. Not in a cartoonish way, not pulsing with veins, but in the subtle, alarming way of warmth that moves without a source. You touch the wall and feel an inhale. You press your ear to it and hear a song made of syllables too old to pronounce. In the morning, your hallway is silent. It pretends to be innocent. You step in. 8. You've stopped counting out loud. The floorboards have always creaked, but now they do so in patterns. You record them too because you're scientific still. If anyone looked through your phone's audio files, they'd think you were collecting whale calls. Long, deep groans with rising chirps. You imagine publishing them in a journal one day. Note: possible evidence of sentient domestic architecture. But the hallway only performs when you're alone. You invite a friend over just once. She doesn't notice anything. Not the pressure in the air, not the light that skips one frame ahead, not the way your cat refuses to enter. You ask if she feels like it's gotten shorter. She shrugs. Honestly, I thought it was just a walk-in closet. She leaves. You try to laugh again, but the sound doesn't come. In the hallway that evening, the wallpaper has shifted. A ripple in the repeating pattern. Not enough to scream about, but enough to disturb your sense of symmetry. You run your hand along it. It's warm again. A medieval Icelandic folktale tells of a corridor that led to the underworld, but only for one person once. Others could walk it without incident, but for that chosen soul, it would tilt slightly and keep going down. They never returned. It's in a marginal note in a sagely manuscript. No one ever found the corridor again. Scholars disagree, of course. The story might be metaphor or satire or mistranslation. But the part about the single-use hallway, that part has teeth. Last night you placed a mirror at the far end. You wanted to see if it showed anything different. At first, nothing. But later you passed by and caught it moving. Not your reflection, the hallways. The end looked further away in the mirror than it did in real life. You turned to check, blinked, and the hallway was shorter again. 7. Your cat sits at the edge of it now, tail twitching. He won't enter, but he watches it, ears stiff. Once he hissed at the air. Not a person, not a mouse, just a stillness. You whispered his name. He didn't blink. You stepped beside him. He backed away. You're alone again. You take one more step. The hum returns. This time it's a little more musical, almost like a lullaby sung through a stone throat. You wonder idly what the hallway wants. Does it need you to notice it? To acknowledge its growth? Or is it simply practicing for when it doesn't need walls anymore? You place your hand on the frame. It's warm, slightly damp. You smile wryly. I should have put in a skylight. That's 3. You begin to wonder when the hallway began noticing you. Not just shrinking, not just humming, but waiting. For your steps, for your hesitation. You feel it now that it pauses whenever you pause, almost politely. As if your presence is not merely triggering it, but necessary. Like you're the match tip and it is the sulfur strip. No fire without friction. You test this theory. You don't walk the hallway for a whole day. You avoid it entirely. You sleep on the couch, brush your teeth in the kitchen sink. Pretend you've moved into a studio apartment. You even shift your bookshelf to block the entrance just a little. The house groans at night, not like settling beams. No, it sounds disappointed. In the morning, the bookshelf is half tilted as if nudged softly. And the hallway smells faintly of mint. Not toothpaste mint, burial mint, the kind used in ancient Egypt to mask the scent of decay in tombs. Real fact. You looked it up. You ask yourself half-jokingly, what would a hallway need to preserve? That's 1. You search for precedents late into the night. Anthropology forms, architectural anomalies, folkloric oddities. You read about a corridor found beneath the Pyramid of the Moon in Teotihuacan. A secret tunnel sealed in ritual that led nowhere. Its walls coated in powdered pyrite designed to shimmer like stars. Scholars still argue whether it symbolized the underworld or the sky. Maybe both, or neither. That's the fun part when the answer isn't just unknown, but unknowable. You wonder if your hallway is trying to say something similar. You hear knocking now. Not loud. Gentle, precise, from the inside. Just 3 knocks. Never 4, never 2, 3. You wonder what that means. Then decide not to wonder. Then wonder again. You start placing objects along the hallway in the dark. Ritual of a kind. A hairpin. A stone. A circle drawn in salt. The next morning, all are gone except the circle. But it's been moved. Now it's drawn halfway up the wall like a child's chalk doodle, or a mirror hung for someone much taller than you. You don't want to tell anyone. Not because you fear they won't believe you, but because you fear they will. You find a post in a forgotten folklore forum posted 5 years ago, no replies. Does anyone know what to do if your hallway's end is getting closer to the start? No responses, no edits. You search the username. It doesn't exist. That's 2. One evening you try singing. Not much. Just a small tune your grandmother used to hum while peeling apples. You hum it softly as you walk the hallway. The hum hums back. Not in harmony, in mockery. You smile. Fine, let's duet. The lights flicker more now, but only when you make eye contact with the wall. That's how you think of it, eye contact. Like the floral wallpaper has pupils somewhere watching through tulip buds or the curl of vine. You press your forehead against it. Whisper, "Why me?" You feel a chuckle. You want to say it's yours. It probably is. Still, it doesn't feel like it came from outside your mouth. In ancient Japan, there are stories of tsukumogami objects that become sentient after 100 years of use. Teapots, parasols, shoes, sometimes even rooms. Animism turned literal. One scholar doubts the age limit, arguing that objects need attention, not time. You wonder if your hallway simply crossed some threshold. Not age, not use, but focus. You stared at it long enough. You questioned it, you listened. And now it's awake. That's 3. Your friend texts you, "Want to hang out soon?" You've been quiet. You start to reply, but your fingers hover. What would you say? "Sorry, can't come over. My hallway is training for sentience." You delete the draft. Your phone buzzes again. She writes, "Or I could come to you." You stare at that message for a long time. You don't answer. That night you dream again. The corridor stretches before you, but this time it's lined with mirrors. In each reflection, you are walking, but the walk doesn't match yours. Some move slower, some faster. Some aren't you at all. One has no eyes. One is turned completely backwards, like it walked into the mirror and never turned around. You wake. Your feet are cold. You're still in bed, but the hallway hums behind the door. You count. 6. The air smells faintly of mint and dust, and something else, patience. You step forward. You've stopped fighting it, haven't you? It's not possession, it's choreography. You reach the hallway and whisper something to it. You don't remember what. You just want it to know you've noticed. The hum slows. You feel like you've passed a test, or failed one. You leave the lights off now. Not out of fear, oddly, but respect. Something about the hallway seems to prefer the dark. Its sounds are fuller without light. Soft wheezes in the baseboards, the creak of wood swelling subtly like ribs. The hum, if it is a hum, has developed undertones now. You hear something that could almost be breath, or speech, or a lullaby sung in reverse. You stop wearing socks. You want to feel the floor directly. It feels warm some nights, cool, others never consistent. It seems to shift in mood. Sometimes you catch yourself whispering to the boards before stepping forward, like asking permission. It feels polite. You haven't used a ruler, a level, or a laser measurer. It's not that you lack the tools. You simply don't want to give the hallway the wrong kind of attention. Too mechanical, too final, like trying to define a dream with a yardstick. Instead, you've made a game of it. You whisper a number before you start walking. Then you count the steps. Lately, the 2 numbers don't match. Last night, you guessed 5. You took 4. That's 1. There's a ritual in the prehistoric temple site of Göbekli Tepe, where enclosures were designed as circular chambers with animal-carved pillars. No roof, no windows, just curved walls and stone. Some scholars believe the purpose was to disorient Force worshippers into silence and submission. Others argue it was the acoustics that the shape made voices echo into impossible harmonics as if the chamber spoke back. You think about that now. How your hallway has become circular in spirit, closed at both ends, folding inward like a clenched jaw. The hallway has stopped pretending it leads anywhere. You're not sure when you last opened the door at the end. You try tonight. It doesn't open. The knob turns, but the door doesn't move. No resistance, no lock. Just the firm pressure of something standing on the other side, breathing quietly, patiently. Waiting. You laugh again, not because it's funny, but because that's laugh number 2. You're keeping track. You sit in the hallway now often. Legs crossed, back to the wall, listening. The hum has layers now. One is musical, one Sounds like water dripping onto something soft. And beneath that, footsteps. Not approaching, not retreating, just pacing. Sometimes you hum back. You've begun to dream of spiral staircases that lead nowhere. Just upward forever. You wake with your legs sore. Your calves ache like you've been climbing. Maybe you have. A stone carving found in the ancient Maltese hypogeum of Hal Saflieni shows a woman sleeping on her side, surrounded by concentric curves carved into the walls. It's believed she was a symbol of eternal rest, a guardian of stillness. But others argue the figure was awake, not asleep, and the curves around her were not dream ripples, but echo map. Sound has weight after all. You wonder if your hallway is trying to weigh you down with echoes. If your footsteps leave trails behind you that it can pick up and arrange like fossils. One night, the hallway hums before you enter. It calls you. You hesitate. That's when you see it. The end of the hallway bends slightly now. Not as if the walls are tilting, but as if perspective has folded. Like the hallway is turning around to look at you. You take a step. 3. You take another. 2. You take a final one. You expect 0. But you're still not at the door. Instead, the walls close slightly behind you. You are inside it now. Not passing through, not between things. Inside. That's 3. You press your ear to the wallpaper. You hear water again. Slow dripping. Far away. Like stalactites in a cave. Like melted memory. A rustle. No breeze. No insects. Just the sound of pages turning from behind the wall. You speak out loud for the first time. Do you remember me? The hum stops. For a moment, the hallway is quiet. Then a knock. Just one. Your cat doesn't sleep in the house anymore. You try to coax him back in with a bit of tuna. He stares at you from the porch, eyes huge and silent. Then in a move you'll never quite understand, he takes one step backward off the porch, still watching you, and vanishes into the bushes. He never returns. You find fur in the hallway later. Not his. It's long, curled, pale gray. It smells like dust and mint. Tonight the hallway is open again. The door at the end is ajar. You should leave probably. You don't. There is no hallway anymore. Not in the way you once knew it. The architecture still exists. Yes, the familiar stretch of wallpaper, the angled frame of the far door, the faint scratch in the baseboard you once blamed on moving day. But it doesn't feel like a hallway now. It feels like an invitation. And tonight, the invitation is handwritten. You wake to find a small curled note on your pillow. The handwriting matches no one's, not even your own. The ink is brown, faded, like it's been waiting. One word. Again. That's it. No context, no date. You fold the note, place it on the nightstand. You try to dismiss it. Maybe it floated in from a book. Maybe it's an old scrap you scribbled once while half asleep. But that part of you, the shrinking, rational part, knows better. It came from the hallway. At breakfast, the room feels wrong. Not dangerous, just wrong. The window light bends oddly. The butter tastes like it's already been spread. Your spoon rattles once in the bowl, then stills. You don't remember placing it there. You decide to walk the hallway. No socks, no lights. Just you, a breath held in the house's throat. You speak as you step in. I remember. The floor doesn't creak this time. It settles. There's a warmth in the walls again, but now it pulses gently. Rhythmic. You match it with your breath. It feels almost parental. Like the heartbeat of something enormous and ancient. 5. The knock comes again. Just once. Like a greeting. You knock back. There's a pause. Then something knocks behind you. You turn, slowly. The hallway is the same, except the wallpaper pattern is reversed. You step back. 4. The lights do not flicker now. They stay steady, unnervingly so. You try blinking fast to see if they'll follow. They don't. You pass the mirror. You don't remember placing one there. But it's standing now, framed in dark wood, leaned against the right wall. You glance at it. Your reflection is a step ahead of you. It waits patiently. You whisper, "What do you want?" The reflection smiles gently, almost kindly, and mouths a word you can't hear. But you think it might be, "Stay." In ancient Etruscan tombs, some rooms were painted to resemble homes, complete with windows, doors, furniture. Not because the dead needed comfort, but because it was believed that spirits couldn't distinguish between the real and the represented. A painted window might trick a ghost into staying put. A false hallway might keep something from coming out. Some researchers argue that was superstition. Others say it was kindness. Tonight, your hallway has no painted illusions. It is very real, and it has grown. You walk further than you ever have. Yet the door feels closer. 3. Your fingers trail the wall. It's no longer warm, it's beating, slowly like a heart remembering how. You feel it pause when you do. The air shifts, thicker now, damp with intention. You speak again. You've always been here, haven't you? The hum answers. It sounds pleased. Your feet itch slightly. You look down. The wood grain is changing direction. Subtle spirals, like growth rings. You step again. 2. You think about how spaces remember us. The worn dip in your childhood stairs. The carpet pattern flattened by decades of tread. The faint outline of furniture long moved. A room remembers where you used to be. But what if a hallway remembered what it wanted you to become? The door is inches away now, and it's breathing. You raise your hand to touch the knob. It's cool. Metal. Real. You pause. Then you knock. 1. The hallway exhales. Everything goes still. Then the door opens inward. Slowly, like it's been watching your progress with quiet pride. Inside darkness. Not threatening, not empty, just dark. You hear nothing, not even the hum. You step inside. 0. The hallway no longer shortens. It no longer needs to. You are always home. You live in the house still. Your name is whispered through the wires when it rains, and the wallpaper shifts ever so slightly to make room for your breath. No one else feels the hum. They walk past talking about time zones and whether the milk is still good. They never step into the hallway quite fully. They always forget something in another room. You wait, not maliciously. You wait like a hallway waits, not for someone to leave, but for someone to arrive. You don't haunt the house, you simply keep the rhythm. A footstep, a pause, a knock, a breath. And always the same number of steps. Until one day, there are fewer.